SJ Nation Live podcast. I'm your host, AJ. And today's episode, the very first episode of 2022, was inspired by a book I read, How to Own Your Own Mind by Napoleon Hill. Now, in this book, Napoleon Hill basically interviews Andrew Carnegie, and he explains how to basically take control of your mind. But not only that, he also goes on, Andrew Carnegie, that is, to explain how the most successful men in history, such as J.D. Rockefeller, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, use some of these similar strategies to accomplish everything that they did during their day. Now, today's episode also touches on some of what current thought leaders share with you, such as creating trigger habits, to lead into permanent habits, as well as taking an incrementalist approach when it comes to success. So, that said, this is SJ Nation Live, episode number 1, 2022. Let's get started. So, number 1 is what we call incremental improvements. Now, how many times have you said that, hey, this is my goal for this week, right? And you started working on it, but you didn't get it done, okay? You started working on it, but you didn't get it done. And then you end up kind of beating yourself up. Damn, I didn't get that done. And then you push it off to the next week, and anything that you had planned for the next week, that got pushed off and further. So you actually end up in a hole. Now, let me tell you about accomplishing goals. And there are several books that talk about incremental improvements. I even shared with you earlier, this is what incremental improvements is, what they call a Kaizen effect. That's what the Japanese call it, the Kaizen effect. In his book, Darren Hardy calls this the compound effect, okay? Brian Tracy calls this the 1000% rule, okay? This is what incremental improvements are all about. Say if there's something that you want to do, right? And you start working toward that goal. And say if you plan on having 100% of that goal done within a week, right? But you only got 25% of whatever that task or that goal was done in that week. Now, do you focus on, let's say 50% for the scenario, okay? 50% of the goal done. Do you look at the glass as half empty, or do you look at the glass as half full? Half empty versus half full. Just imagine all those people out there that are not doing what it is that you're doing. They're not doing anything. So are you 50% better than what they've done? Okay, which is nothing? The answer is obviously yes, right? So if you start working toward a goal and you don't get it done, it's okay, because you're working towards a goal. Every time you take a step, an incremental step, or you improve on what it is that you're trying to do, those little small steps lead to what we call massive gains. Okay, so just know that if you're out, if you have a goal and you're trying to do something and you don't accomplish that goal within a specific time, as long as you're moving toward that goal, you're just that much better. Remember, if you're trying to chop down a tree with an axe, you're not going to chop it down with one swipe, but constant swipes, constant licks, eventually the tree will fall. And that's how you have to look at whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. Constant, stay at it, improvements will lead to massive results, and ultimately you can get done what it is you're trying to get done. Don't beat yourself up. Now, I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier when I was talking about incremental improvements. And if you don't get something done within a certain period of time, don't beat yourself up. Because think about all those people who are inactive. Even if you became 1% better each day, or 1/10% better, you know what? you will be so much ahead of the game, especially against those who aren't doing anything. So if you don't get what it is, and this is pretty simple, what it is you're trying to get accomplished, don't beat yourself up. Just keep moving, keep making those incremental improvements, and ultimately you'll get done what it is you need to get done. So number 3. Now, I know all you church folk are not going to like what I'm about to say here, but F other people's opinion, okay? F other people's opinion. And what do I mean by that? Okay? Typically when you make like a declaration, I told you about keeping goals. You make a public declaration to your friends, your family, because when you do that, you technically making a contract with yourself and the people that you've made those declarations to, whatever the goal is, right? But oftentimes, more than not, there are those people who don't believe you're going to do it, and they always have something negative to say. Okay. And the reason why they have something negative to say is simply because, and let's just keep it 100, let's be honest, simply because they can't see themselves doing it. So if they can't see themselves accomplishing some task or some goal that you have set for yourself, then guess what? They're gonna reflect onto you, or they're gonna project onto you what it is they feel about themselves. So what you have to do is you have to say in your mind, you can love them all you want, but F their opinion, okay? F their opinion. But if they give you an opinion, you listen, right? You internalize what is good, and you completely get rid of what is negative. However, ultimately, when it comes to your goal, when it comes to what you want to accomplish, then all you need to do is care about what it is that you want to do, and the only opinion that matters is your opinion, okay? The internal contract that you've made with yourself in order to accomplish the goal. And again, it comes through number 1, incremental approach. Number 2, not beating yourself up if you don't accomplish what it is you want to accomplish. But number 3, realizing that your opinion is the only opinion that matters, and you're going to stay par for the course. So number 4 is compare your growth to yourself. And as I've gotten older, I realize that I'm not young anymore, right? And so when I started training again about a year ago, I actually went in, I got in, and I realized like, hey, I don't move the same. I'm not as fast. I'm still fast, and I still can protect myself, right? Very well. But I realized that I'm not 20, all right? And so instead of comparing what I'm doing to what, say, the younger guys, the pro guys that are doing in the gym, I had to start to compare and look at my growth based on me looking at where I started and where I wanted to end, okay? Where I wanted to go, where I wanted to progress, because honestly in martial arts, there's never an ending, okay? So I kept progressing, I keep progressing, but I'm not comparing my progression or my growth with everybody else in the gym, only with myself. Case in point, when I started off 25 pounds heavier, my only comparison is, am I lighter? I was heavy in January. Am I a little bit lighter in February? Am I a little bit lighter in March, in April, May? Okay? So always compare your growth to yourself. And the reason why you do that, because when you start comparing yourself to people, a lot of times you don't know what their backstory is. You only see their front story. The front story is what you're seeing. You don't know if this person's been doing whatever it is they've been doing for a number of years, and you just don't know the history. So you always compare your growth and your improvements with yourself. Number 5 is what we call create trigger habits. Okay, I'll give you a case in point. I'm talking a lot about the gym, right? But maybe going to a gym and working out, maybe that's something that's not relatable to you, okay? When you get up in the morning, a lot of times, because it's subconscious, no one has to tell you to brush your teeth, right? No one has to tell you to take a shower. But if you brush your teeth first, brushing your teeth first might trigger the fact that, okay, I need to take a shower after that. And once I take a shower, that's a trigger to get dressed. And once I get dressed, that's a trigger for you to go downstairs or go wherever and have a cup of coffee. So you need to create what is called trigger habits to create permanent habits. Okay? So I'm saying all that to say, create what is called trigger habits to create, a permanent habit for yourself. It's not about just being an entrepreneur, delivering value to your family. If a trigger habit is, if you have a bad habit of always answering the phone every time it rings when you're spending time with your family, then maybe you need to get a new habit, because family time is family time and work time is work time. If, your significant other, your loved one calls you at a certain time, that you're going to take time and stop and talk to them. That's about delivering value, but beyond just business, but to the world and to human mankind.